This is a $15 to $50 part that, when it fails, creates symptoms nearly identical to an $800 to $2,500 fuel pump replacement. And that's exactly why so many people get ripped off. Today we're talking about the fuel pump relay, what it does, how it fails, and the warning signs you'll notice before it leaves you stranded. This thing rarely dies without warning. It gives you clues, you just have to know what to look for. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot a failing fuel pump relay, how to test it yourself in about 5 minutes, and how to avoid one of the most common and expensive misdiagnoses in automotive repair. Let's get into it. Your fuel pump pulls 10 to 20 amps or more of electrical current, which is a lot. Running that current directly through your ignition switch would destroy the contacts, and routing it through your car's computer would fry the ECU. Your car uses a relay instead, an electromagnetic switch that allows a small low-current signal from the computer to safely control that high-current circuit going to the fuel pump. When you turn your key to the on position, the computer completes a low-current control circuit inside the relay, and that energizes an electromagnetic coil. The coil creates a magnetic field that pulls a metal armature, closing the high-current contacts and sending power to your fuel pump. That 2 to 3 second humming sound you hear from the back of your car when you turn the key to ON is your fuel pump priming, building pressure in the fuel system before you even crank the engine. The relay also acts as a safety device, cutting power to the fuel pump if your engine stalls or you're in an accident to prevent leaks and fire hazards. Here's the thing about these relays. They're designed to last the lifetime of your vehicle. We're talking 10 to 15 years, 150,000 miles or more under normal conditions. They're not a scheduled maintenance item. You only replace them when something goes wrong. But when they do start to fail, they follow a very predictable pattern. Let's start with the early warning signs, the subtle stuff that most people miss or write off as a fluke. The first thing to pay attention to is your fuel pump prime, that 2 to 3 second hum I mentioned. When it starts getting noticeably quieter or shorter than normal, that's your relay beginning to degrade. Most people never notice this because they're not listening for it. An occasional hard start that resolves on the second attempt is another early sign that's easy to miss. Your car cranks a little longer than usual one morning, but then starts fine. You forget about it, and a week later it happens again. Contact degradation inside the relay often shows up this way first. Pay attention to the relay click itself when you turn your key to on. You should hear a solid single click from the fuse box area, and when that click becomes weak, inconsistent, or turns into rapid chattering instead of a clean click, your relay is telling you something. Erratic fuel gauge behavior surprises people as a symptom, but in some vehicles, the same relay circuit powers the fuel gauge sender. Wild fluctuations or random drops to empty can point to a failing relay, and if you ever notice a faint burning or electrical smell near your fuse box, that's a relay overheating. Don't ignore it. These early signs can appear weeks or even months before complete failure. The problem is they're intermittent, they happen once, you forget about it, and you don't connect the dots until you're stranded somewhere. Now here's where it gets interesting. Failing fuel pump relays often follow very specific temperature patterns, and once you understand this, you'll diagnose the problem way earlier. The classic pattern is called heat soak failure. Your car starts fine in the morning and you drive to work with no problems. You stop at a gas station or a store for 10 minutes, come back out, turn the key, and nothing happens. It cranks strong, but it won't start. You wait 15, 20, 30 minutes, try again, and it starts right up. What's happening is engine bay heat is affecting the relay. Heat expands and warps the failing contacts inside while increasing electrical resistance, and the relay can't complete the circuit. Once things cool down, it works again. This heat soak pattern, car starts fine cold, fails after a hot restart, works again after cooling, is highly diagnostic of a failing fuel pump relay. The opposite pattern exists too. Some relays fail in cold conditions, requiring multiple attempts to start after the car sits overnight for 8 or more hours. But once it's warm, it starts fine every time. Cold makes marginal contacts more brittle, and your fuel system loses pressure overnight. When your starting problems consistently correlate with temperature, either hot or cold, you're almost certainly looking at a relay issue. As the relay continues to degrade, the symptoms become more frequent and more serious. Intermittent, no-start conditions that were happening once a month start happening weekly, then daily. Extended cranking becomes routine. You're holding that key for 10 seconds or more before the engine finally fires. Stalls at idle start showing up too. You're sitting at a traffic light and the engine just dies. It usually restarts after a moment, but it's alarming. Even worse are brief power cutouts while driving. You're cruising at highway speed and the engine cuts out for a split second. This is dangerous because you lose power steering and brake assist when the engine cuts out. Hesitation under acceleration is another symptom where you press the gas and the engine bogs down, especially during hard acceleration or when climbing hills. Here's a key diagnostic trick. If you can tap the relay firmly with a screwdriver handle while the ignition is on and the fuel pump suddenly starts working, your relay is failing internally. That tap temporarily restores contact. Tapping fixes it even temporarily. Replace that relay immediately and don't wait. In the final stage before complete failure, nearly every start attempt becomes a struggle. The relay feels hot to the touch, you hear chattering every time you turn the key, and the car might start but stall within seconds. Then one day it just doesn't start at all. The good news is testing a fuel pump relay is one of the easiest diagnostics you can do yourself, and you don't need expensive tools. For the audible test, turn your key to on without cranking, just on, and listen for that 2 to 3 second humming from the rear of the vehicle. Complete silence means you should suspect the relay, the fuse, or the wiring. The swap test is the most reliable method. Open your fuse box and look at the relay diagram on the cover to find your fuel pump relay. Now find another relay in the same box that looks identical. The horn relay, a /C relay, or cooling fan relay often share the exact same specifications. Swap them. Put the horn relay where the fuel pump relay was and turn the key to on. Your original relay is faulty if your fuel pump now primes. Swap it back, go buy a new fuel pump relay, and you're done. The tap test I mentioned earlier works the same way. With ignition on, firmly tap the relay, and if the pump starts, replace the relay. For more technical testing, you can remove the relay and check it with a multimeter. Measure resistance across the coil terminals, pins 85 and 86, and you should read between 50 and 120 ohms. Infinite resistance means the coil is broken and the relay is dead. 5 minutes is all these tests take, and they can save you from an $800 to $2,000 misdiagnosis. Let's talk about why this matters so much when it comes to misdiagnosis. The most common expensive mistake is replacing the fuel pump when the relay was the actual problem. Average fuel pump relay replacement costs around $86 to $105 at a shop. Fuel pump replacement runs $840 to over $2,000, depending on the vehicle. And that's a potential $2,000 mistake for a part that costs $15 to $50. Here's how to tell the difference. A failing fuel pump usually shows progressive deterioration with abnormal whining noises from the pump itself, and symptoms that get worse under load. Climbing hills, accelerating hard. Relay failure is different, often sudden or intermittent. The pump either works or it doesn't, and it usually correlates with temperature. Don't confuse relay failure with a dead battery either. A dead battery gives you slow, weak cranking and dim lights, while a relay failure gives you strong, normal cranking, sometimes even faster than usual, but no start. One more thing for anyone driving a Chrysler, Dodge, or Jeep, made between 2007 and 2021. These vehicles use something called a TIPM, a totally integrated power module, where the fuel pump relay is soldered directly into the module and is not separately replaceable. TIPM replacement can run $1,500 or more. but specialty shops can often repair just the relay portion for $75 to $150. The 2011 to 2013 model years were the worst affected. Dodge Grand Caravan, Ram 1500, Chrysler Town and Country, Jeep, Grand Cherokee. Let's bring this back to where we started. The fuel pump relay gives you warning signs before it fails. Intermittent hard starts, temperature-related patterns, especially that hot restart failure, changes in the fuel pump prime sound, clicking or chattering from the relay itself. Test the relay before you authorize any expensive repairs if you notice any of these symptoms. Do the swap test, do the tap test. It takes 5 minutes and costs nothing. And honestly, if your vehicle is over 10 years old or has more than 100,000 miles, consider keeping a spare relay in your glove box. $20 buys you peace of mind and insurance against being stranded. That's it for today. If this helped you, let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.